Lower Kindergarten Phonics Part 1. The Basic Foundation. Everyday Activities. In this video, you will learn how to introduce phonic sounds to lower kindergarten children, activities to do every day, how to give the LKG child a sound foundation in phonics, how to introduce sight words. Subconscious learning. Subconscious learning is a very important part of the preschooler's learning. Here the preschooler, especially till 5 years of age, is assimilating information as against conscious learning. Assimilation is a subconscious activity. The child is learning without conscious effort. Hence, certain key concepts should be introduced every day, done only once a day, and then you get the child to teach you what he or she has learned. This is handing over ownership to the child. In teaching phonics, we need to be aware of a very important concept about letters. Every letter has a name and certain sounds associated with it. This letter has the name A, and one very common sound associated with this letter is ant. Notice the a sound at the beginning of this word. Cat. Notice the a sound between k and t. Apple. Notice the a sound at the beginning of this word. So, in phonics, we focus on the sound because we use sounds when we are sounding words, when we are articulating words, when we are saying words. However, the child should also know the name of the letter. One very important everyday activity is articulating the name of the letter as well as the sound of the letter from A to Z every day. You could prepare an A4 sheet, print out the letters of the alphabet A to Z, and you need to have both the uppercase and the lowercase side by side. From the beginning, the child should know that both these letters have the same name, A, and the same sound, A. Then, below that, you could have the vowels. Or, you could also prepare a card like this on an A4 sheet of paper, A to Z on one side and then the vowels on the other side. Then every day get your child to put his or her finger on every letter and to say both the name and the sound. A, B, B, C, K, D, D, E, E, F, F, G, G, H, H, I, J, J, K, K, L, L, M, M, N, N, O, O, P, P, Q, Q, R, R, S, S, T, T, U, A, V, V, W, W, X, X, Y, Y, Z, Z. When practicing the vowels, only say the sound. Eh, eh, I, O, A. Then prepare small letter cards like this and get your child to match and identify the letters. Initially, you would have to help the child, but you will notice that after 2 or 3 weeks, the child can identify and articulate these letters without your help. S, 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 M, 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 A, A, L, 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 F, 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 W, 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 W. Do the same with all the vowels. I, I, E, E, O, O, E, E, A, A. If you do this every day, within 1 month, your child will know all the names and the sounds of the letters A to Z and will be thorough in the sounds of the vowels. Introduction of sight words. Sight words are words that we do not sound phonically. For example, take this word. If we read this phonically, this is what it becomes. T-h-e, t-h-e. Is that the way you say this word? No. The correct pronunciation is the. And so what do? We introduce these sight words as a single unit. We do not spell it. We do not sound it. We just say the word. And since children have photographic memories, they pick up these words as images, as pictures. And the first 3 words we introduce are always the articles because these are the most commonly used in a sentence. You could have flashcards with the uppercase on one side and the lowercase. And this is the way you need to teach it. Now remember, here is a word which means one. A cat. A book, which means one cat, one book. An. The. At the LKG level, we only present the sight words as pictures. But at the next level, the upper kindergarten level, we teach the child how to spell these words. You could also introduce them on an A4 sheet of paper and again use the same method. A, an, the. So select 5 or 6 sight words and keep repeating it for 15 or 20 days. After that, you could introduce another 5 or 6 sight words. At the end of 10 or 12 months, the LKG child should be aware of about 60 sight words. Notice the word I used. I said aware. I did not say learn. A little child will not be able to learn 60 sight words, but the child needs to be aware of them. At the upper kindergarten level, the child will be able to read these words independently. Right now, it is not very important for the child to read it independently. However, you will notice that by the end of a few months, the child will be able to read quite a few sight words. But do not force the child to read these words independently. Now, let's understand the difference between sight words, functional words, and phonic words. What are phonic words? Words that can be read using the sound of the letters. K, a, t, cat. J, a, m, jam. L, e, g, leg. T, e, n, ten. We use the sounds of the letters and read these words. What are functional words? Words that perform certain functions in sentences are called functional words. For example, we use conjunctions to join sentences. We use articles to know the nature of the noun, a and the. We use prepositions to show the relation between two nouns. To intensify an adjective, we use intensifiers. To show where an action is done, here, there, above, etc. And also pronouns, he, she, it, etc. Notice some functional words can be read phonically. On, in, it, and. What are sight words? Words that cannot be read phonically. Number names. Let's take this number name. If we read it phonically, notice how it sounds. O, n, e, o, ne, which is wrong. It is one. So, such words are presented as one single unit. And then, at the upper kindergarten level or in grade 1, the child would be taught how to spell these words. Number names, articles, some adjectives, some adverbs, some nouns, some verbs, all question words and all prepositions. The importance of sight and functional words. Notice the sentence below. I would like to learn how to teach my child good reading and writing skills. All the words that are pink are sight and functional words. Notice how many of them are there in one single sentence. If the child learns how to read sight and functional words fluently, then later on in the upper kindergarten, first grade, and throughout its academic life, the child becomes a very fluent reader. So it is important to focus on sight and functional words in preschool. Now remember something very important. All sight and functional words are taught as one single unit. We do not sound it or spell it. It is important that the child's brain capture these words as images, and it will enhance reading speed later on. Lower Kindergarten Phonics Part 2. Letter recognition, letter formation and word reading. In this video, you will learn how to introduce letters one by one, how to enable the child to write the letter correctly, how to introduce cursive strokes and letters, how to transition from letters to words, the importance of nonsense words. At the lower kindergarten level, we need to focus on letter recognition, word formation and word reading. If the child is able to read short sentences before it gets into upper kindergarten, then at the upper kindergarten level, the teacher or parent could focus on paragraph reading. Do not put too much of focus on writing. However, the child needs to know how to write the upper and lower case correctly, but not perfectly. Those little fingers are still developing. The fine motor skills are still developing, and the hand is still struggling to hold a writing tool. So, do not focus on perfect letter writing. Pay more attention to word reading and sentence reading. Now, we introduce one letter at a time, and for this you could either write it on a board where the child is aware of the letter. Another thing is we focus only on the sound, because when we are reading words, we read the word with the sound, not the name of the letter. And we focus on the lowercase because when you look at a text, a paragraph, you'll find that 90 to 95% of all the letters are in the lowercase. So remember these 3 important points when you're teaching phonics. Prepare letter cards the size of visiting cards from A to Z. Now these are going to be very useful when the child begins to form words. It's very easy to prepare them. Type out the letters on 2 or 3 A4 sheets of paper, laminate them and cut them. If you do not laminate them, it will not last for even a week. If you laminate them, you could use it for almost 5 to 6 years. Now, you could also have the cursive letter at the back. Again, this is optional and not mandatory. Introducing cursive letters at the lower kindergarten level is optional. Now, hold up the card and say the sound eh, eh, eh. The letter could also be written on a whiteboard or a blackboard or a slate so that the child notices the finger movement. Eh, eh. While writing the letter, say the sound of the letter. Eh, eh. Then let your child place a finger on this letter card and say eh, eh. Now it is important to give the child finger and wrist strengthening pre-writing activities. Coloring activities, free scribbling on old newspapers, free scribbling on whiteboards or paper pasted on the wall, and simple stroke practice. Here you have coloring activities where the child has to color within given shapes. Scribbling on old newspapers is again a very good activity to strengthen finger gripping skills. Free scribbling on whiteboards or paper pasted on the wall. Now, the importance of good pencil grip. Notice the positioning of the paper. If your child is right-handed, this is how the paper has to be placed. If your child is left-handed, this is how it has to be placed. Do not try to change the hand with which your child is comfortable writing. If the child wants to write with the left hand, let the child continue writing with the left hand. This is the pencil grip for the left-handed child, and this is the pencil grip for the right-handed child. Notice how we make use of the thumb, the index finger, and the middle finger. The thumb, the index finger, and the middle finger. This is how you hold a pencil. Now, if your child has problems with pencil grip, you could get the child to use a plastic pencil grip for a few days so that the child learns how to use the pencil or crayon correctly. Demonstrate the shape of the letter. So, when you introduce the letter and practice saying the sound, simultaneously practice the shape of the letter. Get the child to write the strokes that make up that letter. And here it is anti-clockwise semicircle and a short vertical line. Again, get the child to finger trace the letter. You could focus only on print, or if you want, you could have both print and the cursive letter placed side by side. Let your child only say the sound and finger trace the letter. Use the two-finger technique. A. When the child is tracing the cursive letter, the child should not lift the finger. A. So, finger tracing the letter has to be done by the child before the child writes the letter. And again, get the child to use two fingers, because when writing, we make use of the thumb, the index finger, and the middle finger. Then you could get the child to associate the sound of the letter with certain objects. A. Apple. A. Alligator. A. Anaconda. A. Ass. A. Ant. After the child has practiced the strokes that make up the letter, get the child to write the letter with jumbo crayons. Notice how we have not used a frame. We have not used two lines to confine the letter. So initially, the child writes the letter, traces the letter without those two guiding lines. Again, remember, do not insist on perfect letter tracing. Once the child is comfortable, then you could get the child to trace the letter within two frames. What are the two frames? It is these two lines. Then get your child to practice both the uppercase and the lowercase together, side by side. This is important because your child needs to recognize both as one pair. You could also give the child cursive tracing strokes. Again, this is not mandatory. You could put this off for the upper kindergarten level. But if you would like to introduce, then notice how we have broken that letter into different strokes, numbered them, and then we get the child to practice the strokes. Now, before the child writes on paper, it's a very good idea to practice on an old newspaper. Take half a newspaper, cut it into 4 pieces, and then get your child to practice the strokes of the cursive letter on these 4 pieces of paper. Initially, the first stroke, then the second, repeatedly with a jumbo crayon, then the third. Let your child follow the numbers. And finally, the complete letter. Now, this should be done with every single cursive letter, whether you're teaching it at the lower kindergarten level or the upper kindergarten level. After this, you could go to tracing on a paper. Again, look at the jumbo-sized letters. Once the child has mastered A, we introduce the next letter. Again, get your child to put a finger on this card and say the sound B, B. Get your child to finger trace it. while saying the sound. B, b. Demonstrate how the letter is written. Get your child to practice the strokes, finger tracing using the two-finger technique, then objects associated with that sound: b, butterfly, b, bus, b, banana, b, ball, b, book. Then place the two-letter cards side by side and play with your child. When you say a, your child has to put a finger on this card, and when you say b, your child has to put a finger on this card and repeat the sound. B, a, b, a, b, b, b. Now this becomes a game for the child, and they learn how to identify the letters and the sounds very quickly. Then we have the letter formation without a frame. Then we move to letter formation with a frame. Notice we only give the lines that are needed for the formation of particular letters. Unnecessarily giving the child a fourth line will be a source of confusion. It will confuse the child. Then we get the child to write both A and B, because the child needs to know how letters are actually formed. You'll find that A is half the size of B, and this is something a child needs to know from the very beginning. Then writing upper and lowercase, again cursive tracing. You need to follow the method that was told earlier. Then introduce k, same method, focus on the sound k. Tracing the stroke, tracing the letter while saying the sound. Use the two-finger technique. Objects that start with that sound: k, cap, k, clock, k, camel, k, cat, k, camera. Now place all three letter cards side by side and get your child to articulate them when you say the sound. K, a, b, a, k, b, k, a, b, b, a. Letter formation without a frame, letter formation with a frame, and then we go to word reading. Get your child to place these two cards side by side and to say the two-letter word: ab, 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 k, ab, cab, k, ab, cab, ab, cab, ab, cab, cab. Notice how we do not wait till the child has learnt all the 26 letters of the alphabet. If you do this, your child learns to read very quickly, because now learning is meaningful. Get your child to write the word and to say the word while writing. Now, it's very important also to teach your child how to articulate nonsense words. A, k, ek, b, a, b, bap, b, a, k, back, k, a, k, kek. This is the foundation for decoding and syllabification. This is very important when reading bigger words later on. If you start doing this at the very beginning, as you introduce every letter, you'll be very surprised that by the end of lower kindergarten, your child will be able to read big words like this. R-ab, rab, b-it, bit, rab, bit, rabbit. A-ni-mal, animal. Clinic, clinic. Picnic, picnic. This really is the secret to sound reading skills, sound spelling skills, and the ability to decode and syllabify. Then you keep introducing new letters and forming new words. In phonics, we teach letters with which we can make many words. We do not go in sequential order. Hence, letters like Z, X, Q, K, with which we can make very few three-letter words, are taught at the end. So when we introduce t, we get the child to read bat, cat. And so we continue introducing letters after t, r, bat, cat, rat. There is no set of letters that we need to teach first. You could choose letters with which you want to make words. And at the end of 3 months, your child should be able to read a maximum of 8 to 9 letters and words made from these letters. Now, many children reverse letters when they are in preschool. Now, it's very easy to correct this. Now, letters often reversed are B and D, P and Q, M and W, N and U. If you notice a child doing this, please immediately give this particular practice. Take a slate. Now, a slate is important because it has a rough surface. Do not do this exercise on a white board. A white board is smooth and does not give the required friction. Take a slate, divide it into 2, write B on one side, get your child to use a chalk and continue tracing on this letter in the correct direction while saying the name and the sound. B, 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 B. Let your child write on this letter at least 10 to 15 times. Then get your child to write the letter in the blank space on the right. Get your child to do this repeatedly until it is able to write the letter correctly. After that, go to an A4 sheet of paper. Do the same thing. Divide the A4 sheet of paper into 2. On the left side, write the letter and get the child to repeatedly trace on it with a jumbo crayon, saying the name and the sound. Then get the child to write the letter on the right side. If you do this, you'll find that all reversals will be corrected before the child gets into upper kindergarten. This is a very important exercise that has to be done before the child gets into grade 1. It's very difficult to correct reversals once the child gets into grade 1. Lower Kindergarten Phonics Part 3. Word formation and reading activities. In this video, you will learn how to teach word recognition and reading through many interesting activities. A very good activity is the preparation of reading strips. Notice how we have the phonic words on one strip and the two-letter pair on another strip. You need to cut this out and then put the longer strip into the rectangular strip, and then the child moves this and reads the word. This is a beautiful activity and children enjoy it. They also learn to read the word very quickly. B at bat, k at cat, h at hat, m at mat, r at rat. Notice how we can move the rectangular strip up and down. If you laminate this, then you can use it many times. If you don't laminate it, it gets spoilt very quickly when the child uses it repeatedly. You could also make flip charts like this. Again, the child enjoys this. Prepare small little circular cards like this. Prepare reading pictures. Get the child to read this and then place the related letters below this and read it. So the child has to take k, put it here, a, and then t, and then read the word. Give a child pictures like this, and again, this time the child forms the word without any guide. You could have pictures and words and then get the child to match them. Again, a very enjoyable activity for the child. Lower Kindergarten Phonics Part 4. Moving from word reading to sentence reading. In this video, you will learn how to take the child from word reading to sentence reading, how to transition from sentence reading to paragraph reading. After 3 months, your child would have mastered close to 8 to 9 letters. Now, let us assume that your child now knows how to read and write a, b, k, t, r, h, s, e, d. And your child can read these words made from these letters: ab, cab, at, cat, bat, rat, sat, it, hit, bit, sit, ib, bib, rib, ad, dad, had, sad, id, did, hid. So once your child can read these 3-letter words fluently, you can move on to sentence formation. Use these words to make short sentences like this. Here are a few examples: cat, sat, bad, cat, bit, rat, dad, had, cab, rat, bit, bib. Prepare small little reading cards like this with visuals. Get your child to read the sentences. Notice we do not use the uppercase when beginning a sentence initially because the child is not very familiar reading the uppercase. First, let your child sound out the word sad, sad, cat, sat, sat, sad, cat, sat. You could hide the visual with a piece of paper and then get your child only to read the sentence, because sometimes children look at the picture and say the sentence rather than sounding out the letters and reading the sentence. Do the same with all the other reading cards. Prepare a total of 25 to 30 reading cards for your child. Now, 10 or 12 months later, after your child is able to read about 40 to 50 sentences, get your child to read small paragraphs like this. Remember, now we have begun the sentence with a capital. We have started using also sight words. Your child will be able to read these sight words fluently if you have been practicing sight words with your child from the beginning. Every sight word has to be read as one single unit. A, f, a, t, fat. D, o, g, dog. A fat dog. The, f, t, fat. D, o, g, dog, ran. The fat dog ran. The, f, a, t, fat. D, o, g, dog, ran to the cab. The fat dog ran to the cab. The lad and dad sat in the cab. The lad and dad sat in the cab. Please go to the website cfte.in, go to the download section and click on others. You will get very useful preschool guides and templates that you could use. Below this video, you will find links to websites that have interesting preschool activities. Thank you.